cult leaders turned serial killers. Oh my God. Hey guys, oh my God, you guys, I am freaking out about today's video. It's like so dark, even for me. We're talking about cult leaders who became serial killers. I know, right? It's insane. Like, how does someone even go from like leading a group to straight up murdering people? We're going deep into the minds of some seriously messed up individuals. Get ready for some true crime stories that are seriously disturbing. Okay, so Charles Manson. This name alone sends shivers down the spine of anyone familiar with his story. This guy is like the poster child for creepy cult leaders. You know, the kind of figure that haunts your nightmares. He started in the 60s, right when that whole hippie peace and love thing was huge. The era was all about freedom, love, and breaking away from societal norms. Manson, he was like a magnet for lost souls. People who were searching for meaning, for a place to belong, found themselves drawn to him. He was charismatic, he played guitar, and he had this whole, like, family vibe going on. He made people feel like they were part of something bigger, something special. But, like, underneath it all, this dude was seriously messed up. He had a dark, twisted mind that was hidden beneath his seemingly charming exterior. Manson, he believed in this crazy thing called helter-skelter. It was a term he borrowed from a Beatles song, but he gave it a whole new, sinister meaning. It was like his own twisted interpretation of a race war. He thought that a massive, apocalyptic conflict between races was inevitable, and that he and his followers would emerge as the new leaders. And get this, he thought the Beatles were sending him secret messages through their music. I'm not even kidding. He believed their songs were a call to action for his delusional plans. This is where it gets really dark. Manson's delusions weren't just harmless fantasies, they had deadly consequences. Manson convinced his family, these young, impressionable people, that they needed to start the race war themselves. He manipulated them into believing that they were the chosen ones to ignite this chaos. And that's when the murders happened. The Tate LaBianca murders. It was brutal. The violence was shocking and senseless, leaving a permanent scar on the nation. They killed actress Sharon Tate, who was pregnant at the time, and 4 other people at her house. The brutality of the murders was beyond comprehension, sending waves of fear and horror through Hollywood and the entire country. The next night, they killed this couple, Lino and Rosemary LaBianca. It was a bloodbath. The randomness and savagery of the attacks made them even more terrifying. The scariest part? Manson didn't even participate in the killings himself. He orchestrated everything from behind the scenes, pulling the strings like a puppet master. He just ordered his followers to do it. They were so brainwashed, so under his spell, that they carried out these horrific acts without question. Like, how do you even manipulate people like that? It's terrifying to think about the power he had over them, the way he twisted their minds to serve his own dark purposes. The story of Charles Manson is a chilling reminder of how charismatic evil can be, and how easily people can be led astray by a master manipulator. Okay, so David Koresh. He was a charismatic and controversial figure who led a religious sect known as the Branch Davidians. His real name was Vernon Wayne Howell, but he changed it to David Koresh in the 1980s, claiming it had biblical significance. This guy was the leader of this group called the Branch Davidians. They were an offshoot of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and they believed in the imminent return of Jesus Christ. Koresh convinced his followers that he was the final prophet and that they needed to prepare for the end times. They were like super religious, but also like really into guns. Koresh and his followers stockpiled weapons, claiming they were for self-defense. This combination of fervent religious belief and an arsenal of firearms made them a group that many found both fascinating and frightening. Koresh, he believed he was a prophet. He preached about the 7 seals from the Book of Revelation and claimed that he alone could interpret these prophecies. His teachings were intense and apocalyptic, drawing in followers who were searching for meaning and salvation. He had multiple wives, some of them underage. Koresh taught that he had the right to take spiritual wives, and this included young girls. This practice, along with allegations of child abuse, drew the attention of law enforcement and child protection agencies. Yeah, It was messed up. The psychological and emotional control he exerted over his followers was profound. Many of them were willing to do anything he asked, believing it was God's will. In 1993, the ATF and FBI, they raided the Branch Davidian compound in Waco, Texas. The raid was part of an investigation into illegal weapons and child abuse allegations. The authorities believed that Koresh and his followers were a danger to themselves and others. They were investigating illegal weapons and stuff. But things escalated quickly, like really quickly. The initial raid resulted in a fierce gun battle with casualties on both sides. This confrontation set the stage for a prolonged, intense standoff. It turned into this huge 51-day standoff. The world watched as the situation unfolded on live television. Negotiations between Koresh and the FBI were ongoing, but progress was slow and fraught with mistrust. Can you even imagine being trapped in there? The Branch Davidians were isolated, cut off from the outside world and under constant surveillance. The psychological pressure must have been immense. The whole thing ended in a tragedy. On April 19, 1993, the FBI launched a final assault using tear gas in an attempt to force the Branch Davidians to surrender. Instead, a fire broke out, and the compound went up in flames. The blaze spread rapidly, and the entire building was soon engulfed. The exact cause of the fire remains a subject of debate and controversy. Koresh and over 70 of his followers, including children, died in the fire. It was a disaster. The loss of life was staggering, and the images of the burning compound were seared into the national consciousness. Some people believe Koresh ordered the fire to be set, a mass suicide. They argue that he saw it as a final act of defiance and martyrdom, fulfilling his apocalyptic prophecies. Others think it was an accident. They suggest that the fire was unintentionally ignited by the tear gas canisters used by the FBI, or by a mishap within the compound itself. Whatever happened, it was a dark day in American history. The Waco siege remains a deeply controversial and tragic event, raising questions about religious freedom, government intervention, and the limits of authority. Chapter 3. Jonestown, drinking the Kool-Aid. Okay, Jim Jones, this story is just heartbreaking. Jones, he led this group called the People's Temple. They started in Indiana, but then they moved to Guyana, South America. They built this whole settlement there called Jonestown. Jones, he was all about like social justice and equality, but he was also like super controlling. He demanded total obedience from his followers. And things got really, really dark, like really dark. In 1978, over 900 people, including over 300 children, died in Jonestown. They drank cyanide-laced Flavor Aid. It was a mass suicide. Jones, he called it revolutionary suicide. Can you imagine being there? The fear, the confusion, it's just unfathomable. The Jonestown massacre is a chilling reminder of how dangerous a charismatic leader can be. Chapter 4. Shoko Asahara, the Terror Mastermind. Shoko Asahara. This guy was straight up terrifying. He was the leader of Aum Shinrikyo, this Japanese doomsday cult. They believed in this weird mix of Buddhism and apocalyptic prophecies. And get this, they were obsessed with weapons of mass destruction, like seriously obsessed. In 1995, they carried out a sarin gas attack on the Tokyo subway. Can you imagine? People just going about their day and then, bam, deadly gas. 13 people died and thousands more were injured. It was chaos. Asahara and his followers, they were arrested and convicted. Asahara was sentenced to death and was executed in 2018. The Tokyo subway attack was a wake-up call to the dangers of cults and terrorism. Chapter 5. Adolfo Constanzo, the Godfather of Matamoros. Adolfo Constanzo. This guy was messed up on a whole other level. He wasn't just your run-of-the-mill criminal. He was a man who embraced the darkest aspects of human nature. He was a drug lord, a cult leader, and a serial killer. His operations were a twisted blend of narcotics and dark rituals, creating a reign of terror that left a permanent scar on the region. Yeah, all three. Constanzo, he practiced this dark form of Palo Mayombe, which is an Afro-Caribbean religion. But unlike traditional practitioners, He perverted its teachings for his own malevolent purposes. But Costanzo, he twisted it into something truly evil. He believed that human sacrifices would grant him supernatural powers and protection from law enforcement. He believed in human sacrifice. This wasn't just a belief, it was a gruesome reality for his victims. I'm not even kidding. He and his followers, they kidnapped and murdered people as offerings to their dark gods. These weren't random acts of violence. They were calculated, ritualistic killings. They would torture their victims, mutilate them, and even boil their body parts in cauldrons. The sheer brutality of their actions is almost beyond comprehension. It's like something out of a horror movie. But for the people of Matamoros, this was a terrifying reality they had to live with. They operated near Matamoros, Mexico. This area became synonymous with fear and dread due to Constanzo's reign of terror. They called their ranch La Lomita, which means Little Hill. But it was anything but little. It was a sprawling compound where unspeakable horrors took place, but it was anything but little. The ranch was a fortress of evil, a place where Constanzo and his followers felt invincible. It was a gruesome scene. When authorities finally raided the place, they uncovered a nightmarish landscape of blood and death. In 1989, Constanzo and his followers, they were finally caught. The raid marked the end of their horrific activities, but the scars they left behind would never fully heal. Constanzo, he died in a shootout with the police. His death was as violent as his life, a fitting end for a man who thrived on chaos and brutality. The case of Adolfo Constanzo is a chilling reminder of the dark side of human nature. It shows how far some people will go in their quest for power and control, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. Oh my God, you guys. I am seriously creeped out right now. Like, those stories were intense. It's just insane to think that people like that actually exist. If you're not already subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on more deep dives into the dark side. Stay safe out there, guys. And remember, not all cults involve murder. Some just want you to buy their essential oils.